$24 million stolen from McDonald's through a game that millions of people played every single day. Not by hackers, not by a criminal gang, by the one man hired to make sure it never happened. For 12 years, nobody knew until one anonymous letter changed everything. This is that story. McDonald's monopoly launched in 1987 and became one of the most successful promotional campaigns in fast food history. The concept was simple and brilliant. Buy food, collect game pieces, match the right properties, win prizes, free fries, free drinks, cars, holidays, and at the very top, a life-changing $1 million. The odds of winning the $1 million prize were 1 in 250 million. To put that in perspective, you were statistically more likely to be struck by lightning twice in the same year than to peel open that winning sticker. But that was exactly the point. The prizes felt real. The possibility felt real. And so every time a customer ordered a Big Mac or a large fries, they reached for those stickers with genuine hope. McDonald's knew what they were doing. The promotion drove billions of dollars in additional sales across the United States every single year it ran. By the mid-1990s, it had become one of the most anticipated marketing events in American culture. And at the center of it all, quietly managing the security of the entire operation, was a former police officer from Georgia named Jerome Jacobson. Nobody was watching him. Nobody thought they needed to. Jerome Jacobson had built a career around being trustworthy. He had worked in law enforcement. He understood security systems from the inside out, and that background was exactly why Simon Marketing, the company contracted by McDonald's to run its promotional games, hired him as their director of security. His job was critically important. He was responsible for overseeing the production and transportation of the winning game pieces, the rare stickers worth hundreds of thousands of dollars, making sure they were securely sealed and safely distributed to McDonald's packaging factories across the country. Nobody else had access to those pieces. Nobody else was supposed to. But Jerome Jacobson had a problem. He had access to something worth millions of dollars, and absolutely nobody checking whether he used it. In 1989, at a family gathering in Florida, he handed his brother-in-law a winning game piece worth $25,000 just to see if it would work. His brother-in-law claimed the prize without a single question asked. The money arrived. Nothing happened. No investigation. No alarm. No phone call. Jerome Jacobson stood back and thought about what he had just discovered. The most valuable game in America had no safeguard against the one person trusted to protect it. For several years, Jacobson moved carefully. He tested the system quietly, handing pieces to people he trusted. A family member here, a close contact there. Each time the prize was claimed without incident. Each time he collected his cut in cash. But in 1995, everything changed. Jacobson later claimed he witnessed Simon Marketing secretly redo a prize draw in Canada because they did not want the larger cash prizes leaving the United States. Whether that story is entirely true or simply a justification he told himself later does not matter. What matters is what he decided after seeing it. If the people running this game were already manipulating it from the inside, why was he still playing small? He made a decision that would define the next 6 years of his life. He went all in. He began clipping the highest value winning pieces directly from their security envelopes. He replaced them with losing stickers so the sealed packages appeared untouched. He slipped the real winning pieces into his pocket. And then he started building a network of people who would claim those prizes on his behalf, handing over a percentage of their winnings in cash while he disappeared back into his role as the man responsible for keeping the whole game honest. The network Jacobson built was unlike anything law enforcement had ever seen, connected to a fast food promotion. He needed people who could claim prizes convincingly without raising suspicion. People spread across different states, people with no obvious connection to each other or to him. What he found instead was one of the strangest collections of individuals ever assembled around a single criminal enterprise. Mobsters from the Northeast who knew how to move cash quietly. A family of Mormons in Utah who appeared wholesome and trustworthy to anyone watching. Psychics who were experienced at convincing people of things that were not real. Strip club owners who understood discretion. Drug traffickers who already knew how to handle large amounts of unexplained money. Each person received a winning piece from Jacobson worth between $25,000 and $1 million. Each person claimed the prize publicly, sometimes traveling to a different state to do so, and then handed Jacobson his cut in cash. In exchange for a $200,000 winning piece, Jacobson typically received around $45,000 up front. He gave his butcher a $200,000 piece. He gave his nephew a $200,000 piece. He even anonymously donated a $1 million winning piece to St. Jude Children's Research Hospital in Tennessee, where Ronald McDonald himself attended the press conference to celebrate the charity's extraordinary luck. Nobody questioned it. Nobody even came close. By the late 1990s, Jerome Jacobson was operating what had become a full-scale criminal organization built entirely around a game that millions of ordinary Americans were playing in good faith every single day. The numbers were staggering. Between 1989 and 2001, his network falsely claimed more than $24 million in cash and prizes. Almost every single major winning piece that left Simon Marketing's facility during that period went directly into Jacobson's pocket rather than onto a McDonald's cup or fries container. The real winners, the people who actually played the game honestly, had almost no chance. Not because the odds were bad, because the game was already over before it began. But Jacobson was not alone in knowing something was wrong. Rumors had begun circulating within certain criminal circles that someone on the inside of McDonald's promotions could make winning happen. People started approaching intermediaries. Money changed hands just to get an introduction. The enterprise had grown so large and involved so many people across so many states that what had started as one man testing a loophole had become an organized criminal operation with its own internal economy. And still McDonald's had no idea. And still Jerome Jacobson walked into work every morning as the man responsible for making sure none of this ever happened. The scam might have continued indefinitely. Jacobson was careful. His network was spread across the country. The individual transactions were designed to look like genuine lucky winners, claiming legitimate prizes. But criminal networks have a fundamental weakness that no amount of planning can fully address. People talk. In the year 2000, someone inside the network, identity never publicly confirmed, sent an anonymous tip to the FBI. The tip was specific. It named an insider known only as Uncle Jerry. It alleged that the previous $1 million winner was a fraud. It alleged the game had been rigged from the inside for years. The FBI did not immediately go public. Instead, they did something far more dangerous to Jacobson and his network. They went quiet. They assigned a team. They began watching. They began building a case from the outside in, tracing prize claims, identifying winners, mapping the financial connections between people who had no obvious reason to know each other. For nearly a year, Jacobson had no idea the FBI was watching every move his network made. He kept distributing pieces. His network kept claiming prizes. And the evidence kept piling up inside FBI case files that were growing thicker every single week. What finally brought the entire operation crashing down was not a dramatic raid or a lucky break. It was a fake television commercial. The FBI devised an operation as audacious as the scam itself. They contacted one of Jacobson's prize winners, a man who had claimed a $1 million prize through the network, and flipped him as an informant. They then told him he had been selected as the winner of an additional promotional prize. There would be a celebration. A camera crew would film it. He just needed to show up at a specific location at a specific time. What arrived, instead of a camera crew, was the FBI. But the sting went further than just one arrest. Using the information gathered over months of surveillance, the FBI moved simultaneously against dozens of members of Jacobson's network across multiple states. In August 2001, the operation came down. More than 50 people were arrested in a coordinated sweep. Jacobson himself was taken into custody. When investigators finally mapped the full scope of what he had done, the figures were almost impossible to process. For 12 years, the man hired to protect McDonald's most valuable promotion had been stealing it piece by piece, handing millions of dollars to mobsters and psychics and drug traffickers, while ordinary Americans peeled their losing stickers and threw them in the bin, believing the game was real. Jerome Jacobson pleaded guilty and was sentenced to 37 months in federal prison. the longest sentence of anyone convicted in the conspiracy. He was ordered to repay $12.5 million. More than 50 people in total were convicted of mail fraud and conspiracy charges. The network was dismantled, but the consequences for McDonald's were just as significant. The company that had built one of the most successful promotional campaigns in fast food history now had to confront a devastating reality. Millions of customers had been playing a game they could never have won. McDonald's moved quickly to limit the damage. They paid out $10 million in consolation prizes to 55 customers who had played honestly. Then, in response to a class action lawsuit, they paid out an additional $15 million to 15 more customers, each receiving $1 million, delivered quietly at predetermined restaurants, at predetermined times with no press conference and no Ronald McDonald. The total cost of making things right came to $25 million. The game was suspended and completely redesigned with new security protocols before it ever ran again. But the question that nobody has ever fully answered is a simple one. For 12 years, one man controlled every major prize in America's most popular fast food promotion. He gave millions to mobsters and psychics and drug dealers. He donated $1 million to a children's hospital. And he walked into work every single morning as the most trusted man in the building. How many other games are still running the same way right now? And nobody has sent that anonymous tip yet. One man, 12 years, $24 million, and millions of people who never had a chance. Subscribe to Aura for more stories like this. Real events so unbelievable that if the documents didn't confirm every detail, you would never believe they actually happened, because the most extraordinary stories are always the ones hiding in plain sight.